At this time, we'll call to order the regular scheduled meeting of August the 12th of the Davie County Board of Education. If you will, please bow with me for the invocation. As we gather this afternoon, I express thanks for this day and all of its blessings. I ask this board to be mindful of the business we are about to undertake. We are thankful for everyone in attendance today. Further, we are thankful for the opportunity to govern and the freedoms we enjoy. We pause to remember the students, faculty members, and families in our system and community who are facing challenges. Our positive thoughts are with them. As always, we seek wisdom to make the best decisions for the students and citizens of Davie County. Amen. At this time, we're moving on to the adoption of the agenda. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda? Have a motion by Ms. Owens. Do I have a second? Have a second by Ms. Horn. All in favor of adopting the agenda, signify by raising your hand. Motion carries 7-0. At this time, we're moving on to approving the minutes from the last scheduled regular board meeting of July the 8th. Do I have a motion? I have a motion by Mr. Drexler. Do I have a second? I have a second by Ms. Livengood. Do we have any discussion there? Seeing none, moving on. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carries 7-0. At this time, we're moving on to important dates for this month. We have a lot of important dates for this month. On the 15th, Friday the 15th of August will be the last day for staff for summer hours. So we'll go back to regular hours after the 15th. On Wednesday, August the 20th, we have back-to-school convocation at Davie High Gym at 8:30. We have freshman orientation at Davie High from 2 to 4. 4 o'clock, we have preschool open house. And then from 4:30 to 6:30 on the 20th, we have 6th grade open house at all schools. The 21st, we have open house at CDA from 2 to 4. We have 7th and 8th grade open house from 4:30 to 6:30 on the 21st. And let's see, with 5:30 to 7:30, we have elementary school and Davie High School open houses as well. And then first day for students on the 25th. I want to point out that our early college went back to school on the 5th. I want to point that out to everybody. And then our next schedule, I want to make a comment. We'll go back to regular time for our board meetings. We're going off of our summer hours back to regular time. So our board meeting will be, next regular scheduled board meeting will be September the 2nd at 6 p.m. In this room. Our closed session actually starts at 5:15 there. So that is, I think that's all I have for now. And at this point, I'll turn it over to Dr. Hartness.
Thank you, Chairman Fuller. Good evening, everyone. It's not a silent group. Good evening. We are starting a new school year just around the corner. We're real excited about that. We were greeting our new teachers this morning as they began their new teacher orientation. And school is just around the corner. And I put this slide up here to remind everyone that on August 25th, our traffic patterns in Davie County will be changing some. You'll have a lot of student drivers and some yellow buses on the roads. I'd ask everybody to use plenty of caution. We got a notice from the state yesterday that just reminding us in the past 2 years we've had 5 fatalities of students getting on and off buses in North Carolina. Thankfully, none of those have been in Davie County. Thankfully, no students have lost a life riding a school bus, but we just want to all be careful. I know the days of cell phones and other distractions in the vehicle can take your eyes off the road. So we're looking forward to a great school year. Early college did get off to a wonderful start on August the 5th, and we're looking forward to our staff coming back next week and a good start on August the 25th. I want to take a little while this afternoon, board, going through what information I have as far as the state budget and give you a state budget update and overview. I will warn you that this is not all good news, but we'll walk through it together based on what we know today. So in this update, I just have several pages of bullet points of where we are in the budget process. The governor did sign the state budget last week. We do not have our state allotments yet. Typically, those allotments arrive within 10 days of when the governor signs the budget. We have not received those yet. Overall, the education budget for public education in North Carolina increased by 0.73%. It did include a $282 million increase for teacher raises, or that's included in the budget. But a significant portion of the revenue for those teacher raises came from folding in teachers' longevity pay into their salaries and eliminating teachers' longevity pay from this point forward. And you'll see on the slide there, a teacher in North Carolina who has 10 or more years' experience on their anniversary received a check equivalent to 1.5 to 4.5% of their salary based on their number of years of experience. They will no longer get a separate check for that. That will be rolled into the new salary schedule, and that's kind of how they helped afford the salary increase. The General Assembly talked a lot about an average 7% increase in salary for teachers in North Carolina. The governor is saying about 5.5 to 5.7, which is more accurate when you roll in the longevity pay. There was a 37-step increase, and board, I have given you a copy of the new teacher salary schedule in your packet at your desk. We'll pull that up on the screen here in a minute. There is now a new 6-step scale. So the 37-step scale has been collapsed into 6 steps. Teachers will stay on their same salary schedule for 5 years at a time now. The starting salary has moved from $30,800 to $33,000 per year, and that will remain $33,000 in years 0 through 4, and then they will go to the next step, and then it maxes out at $50,000 at 25 years and stays there from that point forward. This is the handout you have at your table. It would be very difficult to probably read on the screen, but you can see the 37 steps, or this is 30 steps plus, has been collapsed into 6. And essentially, when a teacher moves to the next step, that'll be their salary for the next 5 years. When you look at the percentage increases, they're from years 11 to 0, or 0 to 11, are where the significant increases are. And then you'll see the increases actually dwindle as you go down through the rest of the salary schedule, with a person who has 29 years experience moving to the 30 experience pay step received a 0.3% salary increase this year. If a teacher was beyond the 30 years, they received a $1,000 bonus, and you can see that they were held harmless and did not go back to $50,000. So that is the new teacher salary schedule that was approved by the General Assembly and will be used from this point forward until it changes. And again, there will be no separate longevity check for teachers. So let's go on down the list. There was a step increase of about 1.8 to 2% for school-based administrators, and they will continue to have their own separate salary schedule. So principals, assistant principals, and other non-teaching school personnel will continue to retain their longevity pay based on their year's experience and moving forward. At least that's the way it is this year. We hope that they will not remove that benefit from other employees in the future. Let's move down to the next one, non-certified school staff. That's teacher assistants, bus drivers, clerical support, other folks, central office personnel receive a $500 pay increase. That's not a one-time bonus. It's a $500 increase in their salary. Little different than the rest of the state employees in North Carolina. The rest of the state employees will receive a $1,000 pay increase and 5 bonus vacation days. Now, in the budget, there was no bonus vacation days for any of the public school employees. To be fair to all of our non-certified staff, Ms. Smink and I talked about this, and it's how it's been handled in the past. We will apply the $500 pay raise to 10, 11, and 12-month employees at $50 per month. If you just said it's a $500 increase, you would have people doing the same job with different months of employments on different pay schedules. So that's how we're going to do that, and I believe that's the way the legislature intended for it to be done. We will see if that was actually funded that way. State and school retirees will receive a 1% cost of living adjustment, which is more than some teachers did, but I'm glad that they did that for retirees. Some more about the budget. This is about master's pay. The budget extends the supplemental pay for teachers with master's degrees who have completed at least one course in a graduate program as of August 1st, 2013. So if one of our employees was already enrolled in a master's program, had completed a course by last August, when they complete their master's degree, they will be paid on the master's pay scale. If you were already on a master's pay scale or national board pay scale, as of July 1st, you'll continue to be paid on those pay scales. But the budget does not pay for any other master's supplements moving forward, and it's going to make it difficult for teachers and instructional support personnel to add to their base pay. It'll be in the new salary schedule. It's going to be difficult in the future to attract and recruit new teachers that have a master's degree that would have received that master's degree or earned it after July of 14. So that will be a challenge for North Carolina, and I really hope that the legislature will reverse that decision in the future. I think that's a very bad decision. We want our teachers and other folks to continue their education, and we want to be able to recruit and retain the best and not penalize folks if they have a master's degree or earn one after July 1st, 2014. The budget includes another $840,000 to expand the private school voucher program that was enacted in last year's budget. If you recall, there was, I believe, $10 million in the budget last year for private school vouchers. The legislature also directed the State Board of Education to launch a virtual charter school pilot, actually 2 of those, by 2015-16, and the state is going to fund those at the same level, except they're removing 2 allotments, which they haven't said which 2 allotments those were from the state funding, and then local funding up to $790 per student. So what does that mean to Davie County? It means the same thing to Davie County as it does any other district in the state. It would be just like a student who enrolled in a charter school. If we had 50 students, 10 students, or 100 students that reside in Davie County, whether they're enrolled in our school system now or not, who enrolled in a virtual charter, that virtual charter would get state funding directly from the state for those number of students. And then that charter would send Deborah a bill for the number of students that resided in Davie County that were attending the virtual charter times our local appropriation, or the max here is $790 per student. So in future years, that's an unknown in our budgeting process. We won't know how many students actually enroll in a virtual charter until we get some type of notification and verification. It's kind of a scary thing to me. Let's keep moving here. There are a couple other budget cuts that were significant. There's 3% reduction to central office, a $4.6 million cut to transportation, $3.9 million cut to at-risk student services, and a phase out of state funding for driver's education in 2015-16. You have another agenda item where we will talk about driver's ed tonight and the fees for driver's ed, but this is heads up from the legislature. Their intention is to no longer fund driver's education with state funds after this school year. What that means to our parents and students: currently you pay $55 to take driver's ed. Our proposal tonight and another agenda item will be to increase that fee to $65, which the legislature allows us to do that this year. And then we will have to determine throughout this school year the actual cost of running the driver's education program and be prepared to pass those fees along to any students who enroll in the future. Another bad decision, in my opinion, because I believe that our safety and the safety of all of our citizens is important. And making sure that our students are prepared to drive is important. And I'm afraid that if the cost is there and it's a undue burden on our parents, then we're not going to have properly trained students out on the road, or students are not going to get their driver's license till late, and they will not have the experience that they need. And Mr. Ridenhour, it might affect our insurance rates at some point in time too, won't it? That's right. So prepare for that one. That will be more discussion to come. There was a provision in the budget bill that directs all school districts to submit a plan to the General Assembly, not to the Department of Public Instruction or the State Board, by January 15th for implementing a differentiated performance pay plan for highly effective teachers. Now, what that means, I can't tell you at this point because we've received really no direction about that, but more information to come on that issue. This next one is a little more complicated. The budget reflects increases in classroom teacher funding to decrease class size in kindergarten and first grade. So you've probably seen in the media that the legislature added kindergarten and first grade teachers. That was a media spot that was out there. The new ratio of funding will be 1 to 18 for kindergarten, or 1 to 17 for first grade. You'll see that's about 750 positions. But this was accomplished by reducing the teacher assistant allotment. So it's not new positions, it's a reduction in the teacher assistant allotment. And we have not received our allotments yet, but I was in Raleigh last week and was sitting beside the state superintendent who had a spreadsheet of this cut. And the cut to Davie County Schools teacher assistant allotment is about $410,000. Now, what I would propose, and again, we won't know exactly what this looks like until we get the numbers, I would propose in lieu of hiring new teacher positions in kindergarten and first grade, that we use that allotment to pay for our teacher assistants and not reduce teacher assistants further. But we'll come back to you with some recommendations on that once we get some numbers and have our allotments. So if you heard that there was no cut to teacher assistants, that's not accurate. There is no mention of tenure in the budget bill. Tenure is still set to expire in 2018 for any currently career status teachers. And there was no mention, or actually there was removal of the requirement for providing 25% of our teachers with 4-year contracts. And I thought this was quite interesting. There's been a lot of discussion about the legislature giving grades of A through F to schools. And based on what the legislature proposed, there would be a number of schools in North Carolina with D's and F's. So the legislature has decided to roll that out in January of 2015. That should say 15, January 15, 2015 instead of 14. I think that's kind of ironic because there is an election going on in November, I believe. So that's kind of a wrap-up of the state budget. Do you have any questions for me or?
Let me ask the question. Do you have any idea on the ratio changes for kindergarten and first grade, how many additional teachers Davie County would get, or how much additional funding we would get? And second part of that is, you mentioned that 400,000 is what we were cut last year, or is that an additional 400,000?
Additional.
Okay, and then, okay.
What I understand, and again, this was preliminary data that was shared to me by the state superintendent, was that we would get 6 additional positions in the teacher allotment for kindergarten and first grade. If you were to convert those positions into dollars for teacher assistants, you don't come to 410,000. So that's a little snafu. Less than 300,000. So we will have to figure that out when we get there. But again, I would propose that we not cut teacher assistants at this point in time because the legislature did. We would not fill those additional positions that we got. And Deborah will have to look and see how that works out within the budget. It's a great question. Other questions about the state budget or what you've heard or things I might could clarify? So, my recap of the state budget, I'm pretty excited that we have had a positive step in the right direction for our least experienced teachers. They got a significant salary increase, and that's much deserved, and that will help us to recruit new teachers better than we have been in the past, I hope. I am disappointed that the legislature used the longevity of our other teachers to accomplish a lot of that. And I think that the message that they sent to our veteran teachers and to our administrators who supervise teachers is probably not the message that they intended to send, but it was delivered. I'm also very disappointed that they are eliminating master's pay in the future. I think that will hurt us in the long run as a state and for recruiting teachers. So we will be coming back to you at our next meeting to talk more about the allotment and what it looks like and how it impacts our budget for this year. Okay? Moving on, in my update, I wanted to let you know that we did have our summer leadership retreat a couple weeks ago, and here in Davie County, it was a time for our administrators, principals, assistant principals, and directors to come together and plan and talk about the things that we have accomplished, talk about the plans for next school year. We spent a significant amount of time going through our strategic plan and looking at the specific goals that we had for year one and years 3, 4, and 5 in the plan, and talking about what have we accomplished and what are the things that we need to do next year to start clicking away some of the other strategies that we identified in the strategic planning process. So I'm very pleased with that and where we are with our plan. You'll see a picture here, and you have a copy of a book on your desk, The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. I wanted to give the board a copy of this book. This book is a book that we're going to do as a staff, as principals, assistant principals, and directors this year. We're going to do a book study, and we'll be going through 3 chapters of this book at each of our staff meetings each month throughout the school year, and really focusing on our leadership within the organization. So I hope you will enjoy it. I have really enjoyed the book myself, and hope that I can maybe live up to some of John Maxwell's great advice. So hope you enjoy that book. You have also at your desk a copy of a report. Back in July, there was a report issued by the John Locke Foundation through an education update, and the report included a study on return on investment. And it was a study that was done across America, and specifically this foundation focused on the results in North Carolina. The study was conducted by a think tank in Washington, D.C. called the Center for American Progress. And what this Center for American Progress did is they looked at academic achievement of school districts compared to the amount of money spent per student. And they ranked school districts in each state based on their academic achievement versus the money spent per student. I found it very interesting that a think tank out of Washington, D.C. would be quoted by the John Locke Foundation, but if we've got 2 different factions here that have come together and are producing a report, I think it's probably pretty good information. So I wanted to share it with you, and I would just say that I think Davie County Schools and our community should be very proud, because according to this study, which looks at return on investment, Davie County Schools is ranked 2nd out of 115 school districts in the state as the most efficient school district. It means we're getting a big bang for our buck, and I've said that over and over, that this community should be proud of what's happening in our school system based on the funding that we receive, and this study is just further evidence that our teachers and staff are making it happen. I'd love to see us funded at a higher level, but based on the funding that we get, our folks are doing a tremendous job and should be commended for being ranked 2nd in the state in return on investment. So I want to share that with you as well. I have just one more thing. I want to take a moment to extend condolences to the family of Mr. Charles Dunn. Charlie passed away on August the 2nd. He was elected to a 6-year term on this Board of Education in 1982. He was a respected leader in our community. I had the pleasure of getting to know Charlie through the Moxville Rotary Club. He was a wonderful man and a very kind man, and our community is really going to miss him, but I wanted to recognize his service on this board and extend condolences to his family. I have a couple more things to share as far as an update that I sent to you in July, but I'm going to save that until after our presentation from our architectural firm. So, Mr. Chairman, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you. And I think, as you said, it's interesting, these budget discussions are, it is nice to know that, that the legislature's seeing value in younger teachers, but it is a shame, to your point, that they're paying for that and on the backs of the more seasoned and experienced teachers, and hopefully we can get past that at some point. But it is nice to know here in Davie County that we're second out of the state at return on investment. And I think it says a lot for this community and this system. And I think we've got a lot to be proud of there. And at this time, we're moving on to the architect's report, and I will ask Clark Pierce and Wesley Curtis to come forward and Mr. Yeah, and give us an update on the high school project.
Well, we're here again for another monthly update. We appreciate being here. Good to see all of you folks this afternoon. As Mr. Fuller's already noted, have with me today Wesley Curtis from our office. I think most of you know Wesley. Another distinguished gentleman and his staff, John Gray. I'm sure most of you here in the community know John, and Gary Bullard with John's office. I'm just going to be real brief, and then I'm going to introduce John because I think he is the one that is working the hardest right now. What we've been doing over the last 30 days is basically gathering additional information from staff to determine exactly what the needs are specific to each teaching space, and that process is ongoing. We have a couple of meetings scheduled, actually a number of meetings scheduled this week. Sort of like when you're in the summer months and you're trying to get staff members and teachers and curriculum coordinators together, it's like herding cats. I mean, Jeff, I don't know how many times you've sent out this schedule, but it seems like we get a revised schedule for those meetings morning and afternoon. Hopefully it's finally gelled, but we'll be starting tomorrow morning about 8:30, meeting with a variety of staff members. And just to give you an idea of what that is, tomorrow morning we'll be talking with the core classroom representatives. 9:30 to 11:30 we'll be meeting with the science staff. Then there is a short lunch period in there, but it's been my experience a lot of times the agenda crowds that out and you don't get lunch. Not that any of us really need it. And then right after lunch, the art staff will be on board, and then the EC staff after that. Continuing on Thursday, we'll be meeting for about 3 hours, at least that's what's scheduled, with the CTE staff. So it's a very involved process with all those different curriculum. We'll also be meeting with the child nutrition staff, and then at 12:30, the main office student services staff, and then from 2 to 4, we'll be meeting with the media staff and some of the technology staff. And then continuing on next Monday, starting at 10:30, we'll meet with the performing arts folks and the athletic director. So we save the athletic folks last because, you know, they always have a lot to talk about, and we want to make sure we get that as correct as we can, as well as the academics that we'll be meeting with. So I think I've pretty much gone through what it says up there on the list. What we're doing what that process will involve is to we've determined the space needs, all of that's been put together, the room square footages and the area of each place, the relationship of one space to the other, that's been defined and nailed down, so that's not changing. We've determined some mechanical needs within the space. So really what we're about now is down to the minutia of what do they need in each classroom to make their curriculum function correctly. It's casework, it's technology, it's all of those things that go together to make the program that you deliver successful. So that will be ongoing. We're continuing to develop details for the construction of the building, wall sections, elevation refinements, that sort of thing. But I think the most exciting thing that we talked to you about last month was that we were working diligently, and I say we, John and Gary have been working diligently to put together a preliminary grading package so that we can avail ourselves of the good, normally dry fall weather. Hopefully we're over the rainy period for a little while. But John's going to talk to you a little bit, I think, about that. I didn't use Wesley's PowerPoint, I'm sorry, but pretty much what I've said is what we're doing. We'll continue to monitor the cost. I guess if you invite us back, and I suspect that you will, that this will become a monthly thing, that we will be back, I guess, at the September meeting to talk about site cost. Hopefully we have our bids in then, and then continuing on in October, assuming we'll be back for that one as well. Our plan is to be nearly complete, if not complete, with the design development phase. And if we don't have cost at that meeting, we will be in the process of obtaining some cost, updated cost for the project. I'm going to call John forward, and he can talk about the site.
Thank you, and if I may, I have some documents to leave with the board. I'll explain what they are. So how does this work, Wesley? If I click this, does it advance to something on the site? Is it possible to get all that inside the frame? That's it? Hi, can we get that inside the frame so that folks can see that?
It's already on high. I'm trying, this won't go down. Is that us?
Yeah, it's this.
Where's the,
Starting.
what's Wesley got here?
Just play that, that's okay.
Where's the player?
Okay, thanks. Okay. We'll get to that slide in just a minute. Are there other slides back there, Wesley, showing the grading? Okay. So my name is John Gray, and Gray Engineering worked on the site design in 2009, 2010. During that time, we enlisted a variety of sub-consultants to perform geotechnical investigations. SNME has updated its geotechnical investigation. It's now dated August 6th, and your copy is here. Also, we have looked at the storm, the wetlands back then, and we have included that here. We performed a grading package design, and we have 2 copies of those in rolls there. And we, working with Walter Robs, have provided bid documents. And the project was advertised for bid on Sunday, this past Sunday. We have scheduled a bid for this a pre-bid meeting on this project on the 21st in this room at 2 o'clock. and bid opening on the 28th in this room at 2 o'clock, with the intention that if the bids can be analyzed and they are acceptable, we may be able to bring a recommendation to the board at its September 2nd meeting. And the reason why we would like to go ahead and have recommended that we go ahead and get the pre-grading done is because we in our office have done most of the large grading packages in Davie County for the last 20 years. It seems like we always start them in December, and it's always difficult because it's wet and it's cold. And what the dirt wants to be is dry and warm. And it's a lot easier to move, and it's a lot less expensive to move. And so we hope to be able to begin work in September and get the bulk of the earth moved by about Thanksgiving and spend the next month or so finishing up and measuring up. So we feel like it's going to save a great deal of money to the project if we can move the material when it's in its optimal condition as recommended by our geotechnical engineers. And that's why we're hoping to go ahead. It will also allow the project to move more quickly into construction because we will have pre-graded then in February, March for the finish portion of it. The contractor will be able to come in, trim off those portions which are in grass or those portions which we have sloped up so that it'll drain, put his stone down and begin his building. So we believe that what will happen is your contractor will begin to go into building construction several months more quickly because we have graded in a warmer, drier season and because we have graded several months in advance of his needing the project. And we'll be able to explain that to you as we move through. And so there are several sheets, which we call the RG part of the project, is the rough grade part of the project, that are there in the roll. There are 2 copies. And we'll get into that in a minute. Also, working with Dr. Hartness and Walter Robbs, we have suggested some athletics layout that seem to satisfy the intention of the discussions that have come along so far. And we would propose this to you as moving ahead in design development to be discussed with your athletics people and to give us final approval to go ahead for final design. And as we receive that approval, we will be able to design these additional facilities to be constructed next summer, so that this summer or this fall, we might get rough grading done, and then next summer at an opportune time, we might be able to finish up with fine grading, and that's our hope. And of course, all of that will have to be massaged around the schedule for the building construction and the rest of this. Now, you'll notice the facilities include new high school softball fields, new high school baseball field, new high school stadium practice fields, and a variety of middle school fields, because the positioning of the newer high school fields might make it necessary to move some of the middle school fields. But you'll see that substantial improvements can be made in any of them if funds allow. And to the point where we may even be able to put a small parking area behind the middle school that could be used for athletic facilities if the school system decides to do that. We do not have detailed cost estimates on this, and it is moving forward that we will be able to define, the budget constraints that will tell us how or if you're able to move into these at this point in time. So this design development plan, this concept, if you will, I think will be under discussion as you move forward with the athletic directors and you move forward with the school system, correct? Okay. I will move away from this then and into just a very quick review of the construction drawings. They're pretty esoteric. They don't mean much to anybody except a dirt mover, but I'm going to click through them pretty quickly. At this point, should I stop and ask questions of anyone who would like to talk or ask questions about anything that's gone on so far?
Do we have any questions so far?
We all right? Okay. So this is our cover sheet indicating it's a rough grading contract. We're intending to grade the area that's north of the Little League Road. We're intending not to take the road out of service. In fact, the contractor is specifically cautioned to keep that roadway in service. We do allow him to use the area on the south side of that road to stage material if he needs to. Stage material if he needs to. And there are a variety of erosion control features in that. I will say that the state has been very cordial with us. We have already received verbal approval of our erosion control plan, and the state has authorized us to move forward. We should be receiving our official documents in the next day or so. By the way, we have also received approval from NCDOT to get in and get this first phase done. They have reaffirmed the previous permits that we had back in 2010, and they have renewed them and told us that we can proceed. This drawing for the contractor indicates where there will be areas of special treatment. And so underneath the structures, the buildings, the towers, that sort of thing, soil that gets placed in those areas or native soil that are cut in those areas have to meet certain criteria set forth by the structural engineers, and we will be measuring and monitoring that. The school system will hire a geotechnical engineer that will work sampling this as the construction moves forward and ensure that all the requirements are met for stability. The layout is the same as it's been. You're all familiar with it, the student parking and the teacher parking, the structures, and the athletic fields there to the west. We hope to leave the project with some stone down in what will become the bus area. We believe that that could be used for a contractor laydown area. We believe that as your contractor rolls in, he'll have an area with a small amount of stone, 6 inches of stone, that's graded out, so he'll be able to confront his building site more easily. And will also serve to be able to see and visualize what will be built as we proceed to final drawings. This is an intermediate drawing. It means that there are some areas that we might go deeper in order to basically mine material. And we've designed these cuts so that they all drain out. There are no swimming pools that are formed. And so regulatory people can see that we're managing erosion control throughout the site through every phase. Nothing will be left like this. This is an intermediate phase where it's okay if a contractor uses this, and then he'll move through this, and it'll disappear, and it'll wind up looking more like that. Those topos and contours simply indicate that we're installing some drainage, so the site will drain itself. We are providing for a graded pattern that we will then come and dress up during a final grading phase, and construction can begin on the school. If there are any questions, I'll be happy to stand for questions.
Let me, real quick, John, if you will, just define I guess the scope or the parameters of the rough grading. It's the grading, some pipe work, and then the remainder of the work would be, I'm assuming, would be in the building contract.
It's the rough grading, and some pipe work, and it's not the entire project, see, because there are some of the athletic facilities that we don't have complete direction on yet. And so we're not ready to complete the final grading package on things like the baseball field and other things. So we'll be completing that design as this rough grading is taking place. So there will be a construction entrance, and perhaps I could go back if you'd like. A construction entrance, there'll be a gate, there'll be a security barrier gate at the construction entrance. And that portion of it, there you go, that portion of it essentially to the north of the Little League field will be graded out, the erosion control basins will be put in, and then we will come back and finish this off, bring it to grade, put stone down, put paving down. None of this will be done during the rough grading phase.
So the remainder of that, and then the work around for the stadium area, the work around North Davie will be something that'll happen, that you had mentioned that, I guess, next summer.
That's right.
That's what you're, right.
Yeah, not
Okay.
until we get this roughed in and we can move this roadway.
Right.
Not until we get the basics set in and we can get some additional fine construction done over here. Then we will be in a position to move the Little League roadway, and the designs will be completed, and we can begin construction on the part around the North Davie Middle School.
Anybody else have any questions?
John, could you just clarify the timeline again? Because maybe make sure that I have this correctly. The bid for the rough grading was advertised over the weekend.
That's correct. on
We have a
Sunday.
pre-bid conference that's required on August the 21st at
That's
2 o'clock in this room. We will open bids in a public setting at 2 o'clock in this room on the 28th.
That's correct.
And then if we, our goal would be to try to bring something to the board as expeditiously as possible at their
Second.
on the 2nd of September, for the board to consider approving the bids so that you could start. After the September 2nd, if the board were to accept bids there, what is the timeline for contractors being on site and moving dirt?
We expect the contractor to be on site and moving dirt within 14 days.
Thank you.
Questions? Good.
Thank you, John.
Were there any other questions? Part of that 14 days that John mentioned will be how quickly Mr. Bolick back there can put together the contracts, and
We actually already got it put together. It's in the bid package.
good it is.
We did it, well, I was at the beach last week. I did it.
I just wanted you the opportunity to say that to the board, that you were working on your vacation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Wesley and Clark and John. We appreciate those updates. And it's exciting. We're looking forward to moving through this and getting some bids in hand and looking at some real cost, and really looking forward to that. Really looking forward to moving on, seeing some action on the site. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dr.
I'll
Hart.
say a couple things, Mr. Chairman. I want to reiterate what I said last month. It is a true pleasure to work with these gentlemen that are here tonight, Wesley and Clark and John and Gary. These are fine folks that have the best interest of our community and our school system at hand, and I really like the process that they're using for input from our staff. Clark talked to you about his schedule and Wesley's schedule for the next 3 days of work days. We have people coming in. They're going to present them with elevation drawings of what their classroom will look like, the casework that will be there, to ensure that we're building this according to the recommendations from the people who use it every day. It's not the superintendent or the staff determining what needs to go in every room, but it's the technology department, the maintenance department, and our staff working together with them to make recommendations on what we feel like, or what they feel like is going to be best for the students that go to school here. So I really like the process they're using and the input that our staff has had. So I really appreciate that. Wanted to share with the board too, I think you all received a copy of an email that I sent, an update to our interim county manager, Mr. Ruffin, on July the 29th, that included a summary of the costs associated with the rough grading, the costs associated with architectural fees and surveying. And that is just a typical communication between the superintendent and the county manager, and it talks about the cash flow that's necessary to keep this project moving forward. As you all know, on May the 7th, after the bond passed, I had a conversation that next morning with interim county manager, Mr. Wood, and we talked about, okay, what are next steps? And I was directed, you all move and forge ahead, and we're going to forge ahead with determining how we finance this project and securing the bond package and all the things associated with what the county commission is responsible for doing to finance this project. And I was instructed and applied to give him a timeline of when things would happen. We updated that timeline in May when it was evident from Mr. Gray and our architects that there could be a site package maybe in the fall. So we've updated that, and that's been shared with the commissioners. So where we are is the commissioners have had for some time the idea of exactly what this thing looks like for the fall. And when the commissioners decide to issue the bonds, that will be up to them and their financial advisors and their bond counsel and attorney. That's really not the responsibility of this board, but we as staff are working with our architects and the architects are executing the contract that this board unanimously approved in June. And this rough grading and the site package and all that is part of our architect's contract. So we really look forward to coming back to you in September with some bids that I hope that we can be all happy about and move this project forward.
Thank you, Dr. Hartness. we are looking forward to moving on, definitely. At this time, we're moving into the recognitions of staff and students, and I will call on Mr. Wallace. He's going to recognize our transportation department.
And I was just going, you want to turn this off? Dr. Hartness, Chairman, full and board, and guests tonight, once again, I have the distinct opportunity of recognizing one of our departments that is, as all of our departments, vital to the success of our schools. And you have some fine group behind us here. This is not working. This is our our transportation department, and I want you to, Donna, you want to go ahead and roll out that banner. Our team, transportation team is Director Todd Naylor, which most of you know Todd. Our bus mechanics are Jeremy Miller, Dennis York, Darrell Leonard, and Bob McCoskey. Local fleet mechanic is Brad Ratledge. I don't see Brad. Fuel truck and bus driver Kathy, right here in the red. Kathy Broadway, and our staff is Donna Thompson and Roger Dull, right here behind us. Now, 1,800, excuse me, that's at the high school, 6,500 kids. Right here's your team. That gets over half of them here daily. This group was recently recognized in the state as being the central region, first place in the central region for the DPI's annual Transportation Department Inspection Award. Now, basically what that means is Todd may get an email on a Sunday night or at some point, and he knows inspections are coming, but he doesn't know exactly when, and typically he's gotten this pattern down pat, that they show up the next day at Davie County, which they show up and they pull out 10% of our fleet, randomly choose year, by model, or whatever, and they choose, they go, and they're looking for 100% perfection, everywhere from a signal light, a running light, to brakes, oil compression, all of it. I mean, they're looking for 100% perfection. And this group earned, out of the state, the second highest score. And then in this region, they earned first place. And Todd, all of you, and when I called Todd to talk about this, he said, this isn't about me. Matter of fact, I'll share some of Todd's comments with you when we talked about this. He said, these guys work extremely hard and make it happen with little recognition. This is an example of how hard work pays off. We are working on one of the North Carolina's oldest fleets. North Carolina is one of the oldest fleets in the United States because of the way DPI is the funding structure. We prioritize safety first, safety issues, and then we stretch the dollar as far as possible. I am the director, but we are a team, and they make it happen. This is not about Todd Naylor. The other comment I would like to share with you is from Derek Graham. I communicated with Mr. Graham. He's the section chief with the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction, Transportation Services. The next are the quotes from Mr. Graham. This is not the first time Davie County's Transportation Department has been recognized for having the best bus inspection in North Carolina, and they are usually in the top 5. The transportation staff works hard to provide safe travel to the children of Davie County, and they take their work seriously. Davie County Schools should be proud of exemplary transportation program, their team, and the leadership provided by Director Todd Naylor. Would you join me in honoring and recognizing tonight this fine group that brings our kids safe to school every day?
Just on behalf of the board, thank you for two things. One, for looking after the taxpayers' dollars as well as you do, but that's secondary. Thank you for taking care of our kids. So on behalf of the board, thank you. Thank you.
I would also like to extend thanks and certainly congratulations on a job well done. You guys work hard every day, and to the point, a lot of people don't necessarily see that hard work, but we certainly recognize it in the safety record and appreciate you taking care of our kids. At this point, we're moving into the consent agenda, and I will ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda. I have a motion by Ms. Livengood. Do we have a second? I have a second by Ms. Owens. All in favor of approving the consent agenda, please signify by raising your hand. Consent agenda passes 7-0. At this point, we're moving into the business items of our meeting, and I will call on Mr. Wallace to talk to us about athletic event admission fees.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to share some things with you that I've had meetings with the principal, Bill Nicholson, athletic director Mike Absher, county athletic director Barry Whitlock, and we've discussed and actually been discussing for a few years, probably 4 or 5 years, about increasing admission cost at varsity football games only from $5 to $6. There are folks in our conference that are doing the same things that are going to increase for varsity football only. We confirmed that again today. There are folks around us that have already increased to $6. Some schools in the Charlotte-Meck area are already $7. I was trying to determine when we increased to $5. We looked through some old meeting notes and various things. It's been at least 15 years or longer since we have increased admission. So I'm here, I will be this increase was also discussed at our CPC, our conference meeting, and it had gained full support of that. And I will be glad to try to answer any questions or anything if you would like for me to regarding this proposal for increase. Yes, sir.
It has regularly been the case that postseason play, ticket prices go up anyway. What will this adjustment do for that?
Good question, and typically that's determined by the High School Athletic Association because each round, the High School Athletic Association gets a percentage. Sometimes it's $1 per ticket, and then you have to look at how far you have to travel, determines how much of the gate they will get. So those regulations will still be intact, Mr. Dressler. But it would be an increase by, I don't know that they have increased their percentages or anything. I do not think so. So if things stay as they are now, it would just, I would assume, be $1 increase if this is approved.
Mr. Wallace,
Yes,
are we catching up with the rest of the conference, or is the whole conference moving to that amount? And does I guess the second part of that, does the state cap how much you can charge? Or is there a cap?
I don't think they address directly how much they don't cap admissions. Now, there are some caps on various things they actually set minimums for what you can pay certain officials and certain things like that. That's more of a direction for booking agents and those folks.
Speaking of admission, do they have like $7 is the maximum you can charge? Or I know, because you said some of the Charlotte schools were at $7.
Not that I'm aware of about a maximum. Now, I haven't gone and looked at that, Mr. Ridenhour. I can find out. But we typically try to do this as a conference or as regions. Everyone in our conference has not done it. And basically, it's the Forsyth County schools, and they want to do it. We've been talking about it since 2008 when I started. And again, one reason I mentioned the CPC is full support of this, because most of those are from Forsyth County. And I think they have to take a look at their dynamics and their situation, how it would impact them across the board, which of course they're dealing with multiple schools compared to what we're doing. But again, others in the conference are, and again, some local or schools that our neighboring schools are going to increase to $6 at varsity football only. And again, I want to make sure I say varsity football only. The other sports, JV football and everything else, will remain at $5 as it has been for as long as I can remember.
My question was, well, my concern is if our folks go to Forsyth County and they pay $5 to get in, then they're gonna pay $6, you know?
Sure.
Is that gonna cause us any problems?
And I'm sure there will be some questions. What I have talked to Mr. Nicholson and Coach Absher about is, are there any way, or there packages? How can we still meet the needs of our families? And as Steve, you're probably well aware, our Athletic Boosters Club does offer family packages. And by the way, they are in full support of this. This was taken to them as well. But they do offer family packages where you can save money. All of our students are offered what's called an all sports pass for $60, and they can get into all of the events at home on that sports pass. So that was one of my concerns. Can we still meet the needs of our families? And the answer I was told was yes. So, but to your point, Mr. Ridenhour, will they walk up to the gate at Reynolds and it be $5, and then the next week come back to Dave and it be $6? Yes, if this is approved, that's correct, for varsity football only.
Any other comments, concerns? Okay. Seeing none, it sounds like we have a recommendation on the table to approve the athletic events fee going for varsity football only, increasing from $5 to $6 per person per event. Do I have a motion to approve that recommendation? I have a motion by Mr. Drexler. Do I have a second? I have a second. Do we have any other discussion? We have a motion and a second on the floor. At this time, I'll call for the vote. All in favor of increasing fees from 5 to 6, if you will, signify by raising your hand. Motion carries 7-0. At this time, we're moving on to driver's education course fee increase, and I'll turn that over to Ms. Mink.
Thank you, Chairman Fuller, members of the board, Dr. Hartness. You have before you this evening, this afternoon, a request for a course fee increase for the driver's ed program. We've been given the go-ahead to, by the state, we can increase that fee from $55 to $65 this year. And that's what we bring forward to you this afternoon. We do offer in-car instruction to approximately 450 students each year. And each student is required to pay the fee prior to their in-car instruction. The total revenue for 1 year for this that we receive is usually in excess of about $20,000. And due to decreases in the state allotment and increases in expenses for this program, it is our request that the fee for the driver's ed in-course instruction be increased from $55 to $65 for the 14-15 school year.
Thank you, Ms. Mink. Do we have any questions? Mr. Drexler.
I heard earlier, is it true that after this year, the state is going to pull funding for classroom support as well? Classroom support of driver's education? this is the last year of that?
That's the intent of the legislature.
How much, you know, I ask a question, you don't know the answer, a ballpark guess of what it costs?
The driver's ed allotment from the state, that's your question? What's our allotment? It's, oh gosh, I want to say it's around 130,000. And that's to pay for, and this here is used to supplement that because the state has decreased that allotment over the past several years. While the costs of the program have increased, the allotment has continued to decrease. And that's why the state has given us the ability to charge a fee so that we could supplement the decrease that we've been receiving through the years.
So a jump this year from 55 to 65 is significant for some people, but the next jump they'll receive is going to be way serious. So I'm for it.
I just want to hope that the public understands that we are mandated to teach driver's ed in public education. We are mandated to do that, and this will be another unfunded mandate that the locals need to pick up.
Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, I will ask for a motion to approve the $10 course fee increase to a total of $65 for the fee for driver's education in-car instruction.
I'll make that motion.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Owens. We have a motion by Ms. Owens and a second by Mr. Drexler. All in favor? Motion carries 7-0. At this time, we're moving on to a lottery, or business item and a lottery request, and I'll turn that over to Dr. Hartness.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You have before you an agenda item with a recommendation from staff that the Board of Education make a request to draw down $500,000 in North Carolina lottery funds for the first phase of the new Davie County High School project. Ms. Smink would prepare that request and application. It would be going to the county commission to sign off, and then the funds would be drawn down from the Davie County Schools lottery account that sits in Raleigh. As you know, and as I reiterated in the update that I sent to the county manager at the end of July, the Board of Education did commit $2 million to offset the cost of this high school. And this would be the first installment toward that commitment. And in my letter, I recommended that we would phase those drawdowns over the term of the project. So my initial recommendation, and you all can do as you wish on this, would be we would draw down this first $500,000 that the county would use on the first page of the project. We would make another drawdown in March of 2015, another drawdown in March of 2016, and the final $500,000 drawdown at the end of the project in March of 2017. So the recommendation or the request from the staff is that we move forward with this drawdown of construction dollars.
Thank you, Dr. Hartness. So we have a recommendation to draw down $500,000 in North Carolina lottery funds for the first phase of the new high school project. Do we have any discussion? Okay, go ahead.
Dr. Hartness, several questions revolving around doing that. I've made public statements before that I don't believe that we should operate. You can't bank on what we're going to receive in the future out of the lottery funding. But currently, in just rough, do you know what the current capital outlay fund balance is from lottery receipts?
I'll yield to Ms. Smink, but I believe it's around $1.8 million,
It's just under $2 million.
just under $2 million in the current account.
And if I'm not mistaken, the last deposited amount into that fund was less than 500,000, but not much. It was some less.
That was an annual estimate on what we would receive in that fund. So the deposits are made quarterly, and so each deposit is not equal to that under 500,000. It's a quarterly based on lottery revenues, receipts.
And the final piece of that, last month, we made a vote to, under recommendation, and voted to approve the change in a scheduled maintenance issue because of the projected cost of the project was less than what the actual cost was going to be. So do you remember the discussion I'm talking about, air conditioning? Your opinion, will this right itself such that there won't be any other interruption to planned projects that are in that scheduled capital outlay expenditures?
I think we're talking about totally separate issues. The capital outlay projects that are outlined there are certain capital outlay projects that can be paid for with lottery funds. There are certain projects that cannot be. So this in no way affects that. This is fulfilling the commitment that this board made toward building a new high school.
I understand sometimes I'll ask a question because I want the answer heard by somebody besides me. I thought that was correct, that this draw on capital outlay funds in no way affects the schedule of other scheduled maintenance things, correct?
I don't know how I can make it any more clear. They're two separate issues. I mean, we have scheduled maintenance issues and projects that we bring before the board, and those are separate from this project.
Any other?
One
Okay.
question. The 200,000 we're committing for, towards the debt service, when will that start once the bonds are sold? Will that start next year? And is that coming out of, lottery funds, or would that come out of the sales tax, or could we decide where that would come from?
I think you could decide, Mr. Ridenhour, but when we talked about $200,000 annually toward the debt service, we talked about that being once the school was completed and open, that the $2 million would be during the project construction, and it would be $200,000 annually. And we stated lottery at that point in time, but you could choose, if you so chose, to take that out of sales tax or lottery, but it would commence at the opening of the school.
Okay, so, let me think. Would the debt service start being paid though next year once the bonds are sold? Would it be when we occupy the school? So, you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do understand what you're saying. As soon as you would draw down the bonds, the
Yeah.
debt service would begin. But when we made that statement and we made that commitment, the commitment was $2 million to offset the cost of the school and $200,000 annually starting in 2017, I think the way
Yeah,
we said that.
Okay, let's see. And then we got 500,000 more coming out of lottery in March. Is that what you said?
That would be my recommendation.
Okay. So that's going, okay, I see.
So by the beginning of the main construction of the structure, the board will have put $1 million toward the project.
Have any other comments, questions? Seeing none, I will call for a motion to approve the request to draw down $500,000 in lottery funds for the first phase of the new high school project. We have a motion by Mr. Drexler. Do we have a second? We have a second by Mr. Junker. All in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carries 7-0. Next, we're moving into the public address to the board phase, and I'll turn it over to Artie.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we do have two folks registered for public comment. In order to make public comment, you must have registered before the meeting. Each speaker will be given 5 minutes to address the board, and you will be indicated with a signal when you have 1 minute remaining, and the timer will go off when your 5 minutes are up. When you address the board, please begin by giving your name and address so that the board members and staff will know how to contact you should they wish to discuss any issues that you raise in further detail. You are free to address the board on any topic relevant to Board of Education business, but please refrain from addressing any specific personnel or student issues, and please do not mention any students or employees by name in your comments. If you do have specific personnel or student concerns, the board would like to hear about them, but in order to protect privacy of the Davie County Schools employees and students, we ask that you address those with Mr. Jeff Wallace. Our first speaker tonight is Mr. Jimmy Lancaster, to be followed by our final speaker, Mr. James Coles.
Dr. Hartness, Mr. Wallace, Mr. Chair, and fellow board members, it is a great privilege to come and just share with you from my heart. I come today to share some observations that I feel need your immediate attention, especially in light, Dr. Hartness, of your report of the budget, because ultimately they will negatively impact the ability of our 6 elementary schools to fulfill their overall mission, and that is to spark the curiosity and passion for learning amongst their students, especially those in their early formative years of education. Smart Start of North Carolina says that the first 2,000 days of a child's life are critical to determining their success. They indicate that 90% of a child's critical brain development occurs during those first 5 years of a child's life. According to a recent study entitled "A Commitment to a Pre-Kindergarten is a Commitment to National Security," conducted by Missions.Readiness, they made the following statement. Alarmingly, the Department of Defense estimates that 75% of all young Americans are unable to join the military, primarily because they are too poorly educated or have a serious criminal record or are too overweight. More than 1 in 5 high school graduates who try to join the Army cannot join because they score too low on the military's entrance exam. In North Carolina, we are slightly higher than the national average at 23%. While trends in education reform come and go, research shows that there is a solution that is consistently proven time and time again. High-quality early childhood education can prepare children to start school ready to learn. It can improve student performance, boost high school graduation rates, deter youth from crime, and by helping children develop healthy exercise and good nutrition habits, even help reduce childhood obesity rates. It is easy to see that creating positive early experiences during a child's formative years tremendously impacts their future. Investing in learning at an early age makes a profound difference for children and their families and the communities in which they live. Nobel Prize winner economist James Heckman's research found that every dollar invested in early education has the greatest return on investment. We all recognize that high-quality education during the early formative years increases graduation rates greater than anything else we could ever do. I share all these stats simply to encourage you to consider reversing a decision that you painfully had to make last year, and that was the reduction of hours for our highly qualified teacher assistants, especially for those who were assigned to kindergarten through 2nd grade classes, where the opportunity for one-on-one learning is so crucial and critical. I believe if Davie County Schools are going to be a national model in creating educational excellence through innovation and personalized experience, we must do all we can to ensure that every student in every classroom is given every possible opportunity to achieve their God-given potential. I can only speak from my perspective, a spouse of a teacher assistant here in Davie County who has spent the last 13 years pouring herself to improving the quality of education that takes place in the classroom. I don't see how Davie County can achieve their mission if the trend of defunding the salaries of our most undervalued employees, that is teachers' assistants, continues. You've reduced the instructional support for elementary school teachers by 25% as you've reduced the teachers' hours by that. This also greatly affected their household income by 25%, forcing many highly trained assistants to seek additional employment so they can meet their families' financial needs. Not only has your decision impacted their immediate household income, but I wonder how your decision will impact the income they'll receive at retirement. As we've said for many years, being involved in the educational system isn't for the pay. It's because you have a deep love for the well-being of children. However, as Raleigh debates much of what the increase of teachers' pay will be, they sarcastically indicated the only wage teachers' assistants will receive is the ability to keep their job, which we now know is in question. If you truly desire to help increase the graduation rates of our high school seniors, and if you truly desire to improve the economic climate of Davie County by the creation of more jobs, and therefore reducing crime while enjoying the opportunity to live in a thriving community that supports strong families and healthy outcomes, please do all you can to make truly education a priority by restoring these teachers' assistants who had their hours reduced last year back to 8-hour employees. Thank you so much for your time.
Our next speaker is Mr. James Coles.
Dr. Coles from Farmington. I appreciate what the last speaker said, and I appreciate the architects and the engineers for staying for the whole meeting. The bonds have passed. We're going to have a new school. It's important, I think, to make sure that there's increased transparency. And being from New Hampshire and Vermont, we had environmentalists who would come by and raise a big ruckus and cause legal fees because everything wasn't filled out properly for environmental impact statements or for, I think in North Carolina, it would be the Department of Natural Resources. So it'll be interesting to know how all those permits are done properly. And the issue, of course, main issue for Davie County is that Dutchman's Creek is wholly in this county, comes right by the foundation of the new high school and empties into Yadkin River. It'd be a shame if anybody south of us, downstream, were to complain about any of the water quality going into the Yadkin based on our new project. The issue today came about partly looking over the capital, the minutes. The capital outlay budget takes money, $196,433, and puts it into a code named 6500 for operational support services. So this is PSBCF money, lottery money, that goes into operational support. I think there needs to be an explanation of where that's going. I would also emphasize, as the, I know its name, but I'm not allowed to use it, as he mentioned about the operational fund, the building and grounds, so that if we have other projects going on, now there used to be a budget committee, subcommittee. There used to be a building and ground subcommittee. There's not been any in the last 2 years. But clearly, if there needed repairs in this year for all the other schools in the district, we have to plan an operational budget for also the lottery funds. And I don't see any specifics there. I certainly understand the commitment on the 500,000, but I think there are other issues in this school district as well that require adequate maintenance and keeping up properly. The other issue is the average daily membership. We don't know what that is. As everybody understands, even from driver's ed to transportation, the state is cutting funding, which means it comes back to us. The lottery fund is still there, but if your average daily membership is dropping, we'll probably continue to have a decreasing amount in the quarterly contributions of lottery funds to our district. And that needs to be projected in a transparent way as well for our budget. As Ms. Atkinson, DPI superintendent, stated in the past week to AP, the total state budget, which has increased $400 million the previous year, has now increased about $243 million this year, and she described it as, quote, "It's complex." Apparently, there's more flexibility between the TA's funding and the teacher funding, so that this flexibility does not require us to have these isolated pots of money, but it would be easier to support this if we knew the details of the specific things being done on construction, if we had the bids on the entire project before we spend a whole bunch of money just for grading. But I appreciate your attention, and I hope that some of these questions will be answered. Thank you.
Does that complete our public comment?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. At this time, we're moving on to comments from the board, and, oh, no. Wow, I'm getting way ahead. Steve, you want to fast forward? Is that I apologize. We're moving to committee and staff reports, and the first report is CTE and new partnerships. Ms. Donna Dunn. I'm sorry, Ms. Donna McNeil. I apologize. I'm all messed up here.
I think we're all ready to go home, Mr. Fuller. Good evening, Dr. Hartness, Chairman Fuller, members of the board. Today it's my honor to bring with me David Kuntz. This summer, David has had a unique opportunity to participate in a partnership for workforce development. I want to express my appreciation to Mr. Jim Stockard, who's here with us this evening, and Mr. Terry Brawley for making this partnership possible for our students and for our teacher. This summer, David has had an opportunity to spend 2 weeks of his summer visiting with 4 of our local businesses and being immersed in those businesses to learn more about the soft skills and technical skills that are needed by our local businesses to help so that we can, as educators, can prepare our students to meet those skills in the future. And those 4 businesses that we have partnered with this summer were Ashley Furniture, Davie Medical Center in Advance, Ingersoll Rand, and VF Jeanswear. So I'd like to ask David now to spend a few minutes sharing with you some of the his comments and what he learned this summer from this partnership.
Thank you, Ms. McNeil. Thank you, Chairman Fuller and Dr. Hartness and members of the board. I just want to say, and I'm going to try to keep this brief because I know Chad's ready to get out. So, this opportunity was new to me because obviously I had never done this before in my previous school systems where I taught at. And when this idea got brought to us, to the CTE staff, I was kind of asked to apply for this because of some of the different businesses that we were going to tour and some of my experiences and what I've taught. So it was a great opportunity for me and Mr. Kerry Smith from Davis Community College to learn more about these businesses right here in Davie County and really just to get a better understanding of what they do as far as in their daily operations, and also kind of what their future needs are as far as potential employees. I never actually toured. I actually worked in Ingersoll Rand a few summers when I was in college, and that place has definitely changed since I worked there. But I had not been inside VF Jeans or, of course, Ashley Furniture because it's brand new or it's in the process of being constructed, and obviously Davie Medical Center is brand new as well. As Mr. Smith and I toured different facilities, we met with supervisors, plant managers, doctors, nurses, and other various employees to hear kind of what a typical day was like. We spent roughly 2.5 days in each facility. And in fact, we had an experience at the medical center where we actually dressed out to go in the operating room, and I learned that I did not make a mistake by going into the medical field. Got to witness someone getting their tonsils taken out and a eye cataract surgery, and it was, I had to walk out. So I'm in the right field, so that's a good thing. But anyway, I realized that when we were talking to these employers and some of these different folks, we asked them questions about some of the recent employees that they hired, things that they thought that they were prepared for, that they came in ready to go, as far as the skills that they had. And we also asked them, things that maybe they didn't have and things that maybe they thought are areas that we can improve in as far as preparing these young people for the workplace. And I thought that they did a really good job because this was obviously a new experience for them as well. They were asking us, how in depth do you want to go, and we were taking up their daily routine as well. So we tried to hit the high points on those areas as far as those skills that we were referring to, those soft skills and technical skills. I feel like the big thing that I just kept hearing over and over again were these soft skills, and the fact that a lot of these employers, specifically I remember several folks at the VF Jeans plant mentioning that a good attitude, a strong work ethic, good communication skills, time management skills, problem-solving skills were really critical for their employees. And we heard that at the hospital, we heard that at Ashley, and we definitely heard that at Ingersoll Rand. And I think we can improve in all these areas, and I think we already are hitting these areas as far as projects and different things that we do with our students. But I feel like we can improve. And there's some ideas that come into mind when I think about soft skills. I think sometimes we get focused on, I'm losing my train of thought here. I feel like we get focused in on certain things as far as we use software, and we use like in the medical classes. I think we could kind of change these projects to include some of these soft skills. And not only are they learning how to use the software, learning how to be a nurse, learning how to be a cook, but also applying that as far as communicating with maybe their fellow coworkers, their customers. I think email is a big thing now that we've got the student emails. I feel like that's something that we need to utilize to the fullest as far as writing in emails and not using shorthanded and abbreviations. Several times they mentioned cell phones while we were there, and how they've got strict cell phone policies. And so that's something that I feel like that's something we can definitely focus on. I would venture to say that some role playing would be a good experience for our students to demonstrate attitudes. Again, they said one of the big things was just having a positive attitude. Coming to work and your attitude and how you approach it is key. And I know in a career development class I used to teach, we would role play this. We would come in and give them different scenarios where they had to respond, and they would have to do it in a good way and in a bad way. And then we would go back and look at that and say, is that the proper way to approach someone, whether it's a fellow coworker or a customer that you're dealing with. Work ethic, is a tough one. I feel like that's kind of something that's taught at home as far as how someone's brought up. But I feel like each student has a different level of that, and you can stress this point and how important it is. I know at BF Jeans we learned that several of their employees are paid based on how they work and the production that they their output production. And so that was pretty interesting to me that, they have an opportunity to earn more by how much work they do. And so, you know, that's something to hit on with our students and saying that, you know, the more that you do and the better job that you do, you have a potentially chance to increase your income, and that's a great thing. I guess where we go from here, there's a lot of work to be done. I feel like in the future we're going to be presenting at the Davie Experience. Mr. Smith and I are going to be sharing some things as far as how we can apply to our classes. And obviously, CTE does a lot of this already. Our department's great as far as hitting on some of these things that I mentioned. So I'm looking forward to that. And again, it was a great experience. The summer flew by, and I gained a lot from this. And I do have one more funny story to share. When I came back to school when I was at Ingersoll Rand, we actually had to go through a safety training, a day of safety training. And I was in there with some other employees. And when I came back to school, Miss Klutz, her husband works at Ingersoll Rand. And he had evidently called her and said that I was getting ready to start working at Ingersoll Rand. And evidently that caused a mass hysteria at Davie High School. So I'm here to say that I'm here and I'm not going anywhere. And again, I thank you and I appreciate this opportunity. And I think Ms. McNeil has something else to say.
Again, this was a unique opportunity for us to let our CTE teacher, Mr. Kuntz, visit these businesses to see how we are aligning what we do in our classes every day to what our business needs are. This, again, was a unique opportunity in the fact that now Mr. Kuntz has made an acquaintance with Mr. Smith at the DCC, who is in advanced manufacturing. So here again is our vertical alignment, starting with the high school and going to the community college and building on out into our workforce. So this has been a great opportunity for us. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I would also just mention congratulations. Thank you, David, for participating, and Donna for helping to coordinate, Jim for being here. This whole project came out of a conversation around a table with me and Terry Brawley and Dr. Rittling from the community college, and this was sponsored by our Davie County Economic Development Commission and coordinated through them, and we appreciate that partnership. And everybody pulled together and made it happen. We want to especially thank our corporate partners, VF Jeans, Ingersoll Rand, Wake Forest Baptist Health, and I just lost the third one, and Ashley Furniture. So I'm sure that was very interesting too, David, to see a manufacturing facility coming together as you were there. So good partnerships. Thank you.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's exciting to see the community, especially the business community, connecting with the schools. That's very exciting. At this time, we're moving into curriculum report, the Beginning Teacher Academy of 2014, and I'm going to call on Miss Donna McNeil again for that. Is that right? Is that right? Oh, is it Jen? I'm sorry. I apologize. My information says Ms. McNeil is going to talk about that, but it looks like it's going to be Ms. Haynes.
Well, it's a surprise to me as well. Dr. Hartness, board chair, board members, I actually arrived late today because we were wrapping up from the BT Academy that's going on this week. We started today, and we'll be going the next 2 days with our beginning teacher level 1, so our first year teachers. We actually had 26 people with us today. So we have a large group of BT1s. They're excited. We spent the day focusing on the standards, how they will be evaluated, orienting them to the teacher effectiveness training, and getting them into TNL, getting them logged in and all of that. They were introduced to a good number of teacher leaders today who came in and spoke with them and shared some best practices, and so had lots of takeaways. But we could see it in their eyes, at least I could see it in their eyes. It's like trying to sip from a fire hydrant or a fire hose. It's a lot to pack in, but really critical information as they are preparing to start regular teacher work days next week. We'll continue tomorrow. We have lots of other leaders from in the county coming in to talk with them about important topics. And we'll finish the day on Thursday with a principal panel for them to discuss with. and mentors coming in to meet with them, and then spending some time in their schools actually setting up their classrooms. And I'll be glad to entertain any questions that you might have. It's exciting.
It is exciting. Do we have any questions for Ms. Haynes?
Mr. Chair, may I share something?
Yes, sir.
Jenda and Beth Kevel has worked hard putting this piece together. And as many of you know, Noel is not with us. I'm not sure if Dr. Hartnett is going to share some of that, but Ms. Haynes has moved into a position. We loaded her saddle down on both sides. But this was one of the things I want to brag on her just a moment about this. She's exactly right. We had 26 folks there. We're extremely excited today. And she hit the ground running. She presented to them. She modeled for them exactly the way it should be. And this is a young lady that's been in education for quite some time. And we're very fortunate to have her, very fortunate that she's in the position she's in. And Jen, I want to personally thank you because she said to me, we spent hours together looking. She says, I've never done this. I've never done this. I said, but you can
I
do
already
it.
have notes of changes we need to make for
See?
next year, just so you know.
So,
I'm not happy with today.
see. So it didn't take her long that she had that finger out pointing and telling me what we were going to do. I said, yes, ma'am, I understand. But Jenda has done a really good job, and I do want you to reiterate what she said about the 26 young folks, young and middle-aged folks that are sitting there. They're extremely excited. And Dr. Hartnett heard them say today, when Ms. Haynes did an excellent get to know you little thing where you take a yarn of ribbon and pass them around. And we had folks that said they chose Davie County Schools because of the facility. They chose Davie County Schools because of, this young lady says, I went to multiple interviews, but the folks at Davie County were attuned to what's going on. I came here because of the way you interviewed me. You were engaged, and Ms. Haynes interviewed some of those folks. Mr. Nicholson interviewed some of those folks. They came because they grew up here. About half the room, wouldn't you say? Or maybe
Probably, at least locally, if not Davie County, locally.
are returning home, as they would say. Some have been married in a way, coming back. Some are fresh out of college. Others will tell you that this is where they chose to raise their children and bring their children. And others will say, I heard about this place, and this is where I want to be. We've got to maintain that momentum. I can assure you that. So, Jenda, good job. Get me some brownie points. Wasn't planning this, but anyway.
I'll be a little more prepared next time I'm to speak. Just let me know.
Thank you, thank you. That's exciting. New faces coming in. That's always exciting. Ms. Smee.
Short and sweet. You have the donations report before you, and that's it.
Thank you, ma'am. At this time, I'll turn it over to Mr. Wallace for the Middle School Athletics Conference for 2014-15.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Part of the goal of our middle school athletics is to have kids to learn how to compete in a safe and environment that is healthy for them and healthy competition. And you do that, we want those young men and women to be involved. So over the past few years, we have competed with middle schools in surrounding counties. And many of you may know the history of that, Davidson, Rowan, various places. But we have had some difficulties with getting all of our schedules filled for the sports that we offer, which of course the sports we offer increases the number of involvement, which is what we want to do. Golf, track, cross country, tennis, and those things. We had primarily been competing with the folks at schools in Davidson County, and as you're well aware, they have built a new middle school. So they have a nice, neat little conference. We have reached out to Wilkes County, Yadkin County, and a few Surrey County schools who offer very similar sports that we offer. So we met with them initially 4 or 5 months ago to talk about possibly competing against them. Coach Whitlock met with all of our middle school ADs, middle school principals. I've talked to middle school principals. So we're not necessarily joining a new conference, but we are going to be competing more against Wilkes County and Yadkin County schools in a variety of sports. We are going to increase the number of, some teams. At the same time, we will combine our travel, which should be a cost savings to us. This will require us to move a couple sports. We will flip-flop girls soccer and softball. In other words, girls soccer will come from the spring to the fall, and softball will go to the spring, like the high school. And that's because we are going into asking for other teams to compete with other teams in schools. That's how they do those things. We couldn't go in there and ask them to adapt to our schedule, which really this is going to work out for us. We plan to add a 7th grade volleyball team along with our coaching staff that we have. So it's going to work out pretty nicely. And again, we can load up in our volleyball, soccer teams. So 3 teams right now in the schedule will compete on the same day. So we will be able to, again, put most of those kids on one bus and not be traveling as much. That's primarily what I have. I just wanted to make sure you're aware of that. I will try to address any questions, but again, it's to provide increased participation like schools, similar schools but again, we're not necessarily in a conference. We do plan to do some Saturday tournaments with maybe Yadkin County. Wilkes County, so you won't be concerned, Wilkes County is actually in a conference with Ashe County and Allegheny. One of my directions to Mr. Whitlock, when you sit down and talk, we're not driving to Ashe County or Allegheny on a school night. So we're not going to compete with them at this point. Maybe in some light tournaments, maybe at Forbush or Starmount, but not getting in the vehicle and driving, bus and driving up there. And they understand. They didn't want to come here either. So, but I just want to we're going to get that out in the paper. Again, principals, everyone's aware of that. So I just want to make sure you're aware before you see that in the paper. And I'll try to address any questions if you have any.
Have any questions? Thank you, Mr. Wallace. Now we're moving on to board comment. Yeah, I'm sorry. I apologize. Next is we're going to discuss the groundbreaking ceremony for the new high school.
We have a motion on the table. I'm just kidding. Mr. Ridenhour withdraws his motion there. Groundbreaking ceremony, after the discussion with our architectural firm, you know the timeline of proposed groundbreaking as far as the rough grading project. I think it would be good for the board to discuss when you would like to have a groundbreaking ceremony, time of day, sometime mid-September. So I'd like for you to consider looking at your calendars and giving us some feedback into days, because we want to schedule this around when y'all can be available. So, Mr. Chairman, just open that up for discussion.
Yeah, I think, do we have any comments?
Well, this may not be possible, but probably back in 1956 when Davie High opened, we probably might have opened after Labor Day back in the olden days. I don't know if they did in North Carolina. I did where I grew up in Maryland, and maybe there was a date in September that the school, they first started Davie High School then. That may be too early in the month, but just something to throw out there. And I don't know. They may have gone before Labor Day back. When I was in the 50s, I was in school in the 50s, and Steve probably was too. he can probably tell me.
Yeah,
it's just a thought.
Yeah, that's good. Good idea. Good idea. So we're going to check on when school started at Davie High new.
Is there a preferred time of day that you would want to have this?
I would request that we try to keep in mind as far as the time that it, would allow folks who work during the day if they would like to come and join us in terms of, just folks in the community. Because I think that's something folks would like to be present at if they can.
Any other ideas?
I was really thinking about tomorrow, but I guess we have to wait till September, right? Okay. Late afternoon is usually pretty good, I think, and then if we could, that way it would allow some of the school children who will be participating and going to the new Davy High maybe to be there also, so that the community can get a feel for what it's like to break ground for something this exciting.
Are there dates the second or third week of September that you're not available, that we could just go ahead and mark off? Or do you have your calendars?
I think the 24th, we have that meeting in Elkin, so that won't work for the region.
Not sure about the dates, Dr. Hartness, but I believe when we had the groundbreaking at Ellis, we did invite some guests, some county officials. So is that something we would want to consider as well?
Absolutely. We'll begin, putting together a guest list, so we need time to pull that together and make that notice.
Maybe the best thing to do is if we don't have our calendars with us, just look at calendars, and we certainly want to make sure that all the board's available. And then we'll kind of go from there. But there's a lot of folks that I think need to be invited. And I mean, obviously, be open to anyone, but we need to, it's an exciting day. And I like the idea of checking on a significant date as far as Davy High opening and initially. So.
So what I would propose then is, Carol, we will look into that date and see if that is a possibility. And then we'll look at some other dates, and Jean can send those out to you. And if you'd let us know just as soon as possible when you get that email, if you're not available, we'll want to check with our architectural firm and see if those guys are available. Well, really, it doesn't matter, but we want to make sure you're available. We'll pull some dates together and send that out to you.
That sounds good. Thank you. Now, at this time, for the third time, we're moving on to board comment. And I'll be honest with you, I don't know that I can remember. I think did you go first last time, Wendy? Yeah. It should be Paul. That's what I thought. I was thinking it should be Paul first. Yeah.
I wrote a couple things down that I'd like to pass on. Number one, thank you, those of you that sent cards or emails or phone calls, including superintendent and board members and staff of the school system and a bunch of people in the community. I just had another episode of health stuff, and I don't like where I am, but I'm getting better. I told Clint a while ago I was on the move, and what'd I say? I was going to catch up. I'd be caught up by next month, hopefully. For those of you that don't know, I had a fall and dislocated an ankle, and when 200 and too many pounds comes down on one ankle, that's not good. Broke bones, now it's been drilled and screwed and put screws into, and I'll be good to go in 4 or 5 more weeks. Very pleased to have a good turnout again here tonight. I'm glad to hear and learn tonight that the new high school plans and proceedings are going on as expected. I very much appreciate the monthly updates. That's really good for my brain. I want to specifically thank our architects team and their staff for doing what they do to help us get what we want. I want to and I intend to do all I can do to see that steps are taken properly so that we don't have any uh-ohs and hiccups along the way. That's where I stand on this issue now. Next topic, I very much appreciate all of you for attending today. I hope that you heard answers to questions that you might have, and that you have heard discussions and or results of discussions to help you be confident that this board is on top of a whole bunch of stuff in this county, in the school system, other than just the high school. It's important that we maintain everything that we do to keep the big picture up and going. And I felt that today more than, thank you board members, I felt that more today than I have in a while. one of the things that came out today was the return on investment, that information that we received, and it was shown up above. To have something, a raw material, and take it through a process and get to an end product, when the raw material is closer or nicer to start with, it's easier to get to the end product. So I want to make sure that everybody involved understands that I really appreciate the attention that the community gives and the parents gives to the students and the support of the school staff who are trying to do the best they can with the limited resources that they have. We have good people in this county, and it shows up on these kinds of results and tests and et cetera, et cetera. So I want to thank all of you for in the system for doing what you do once you get somebody, but I want to thank the parents and the community. David Kuntz, that you realized it through the 4 places that you visited. We have a lot of support for education in this community, and it shows up in the end results and all the way through the whole process. Thank you very much. Glad you came today, and I'm done.
Thank you for each of you for being here and for each of you sharing your thoughts and views. I want to say welcome to the new 26 teachers to Davie County. I know they're going to have an exciting time, and they're very, very special and very fortunate to be able to have a county like this to come to. Also, watch those orange buses, as Dr. Hartness said. They will start running pretty soon. I do want to share something with you that concerns me, and it's in regards to the budget, and you all know how I feel about how public education is being attacked. Our Teacher of the Year received a letter approximately 3 weeks ago, and she shared it with me. It came from a system in Texas. It offered her $50,000 to start, plus a $5,000 bonus signing fee if she would just come and interview. She was our Teacher of the Year. She has a master's degree. She is one of our Mevin scholars. Think about that. We have quality not only in our system, but in our state. That scares me. 1970, I started as a teacher assistant. I'm dating myself. 1970. During that time frame, we added state kindergartens. We added teacher assistants in K-3. We were able to use the allotments that we were given to add teacher assistants in grades 4, 5, 6. We also were allotted monies that we could use locally in our local system to address the needs that we have. Ladies and gentlemen, that's changed. We have gone backwards. We've lost longevity. We've lost that incentive for masters. We've lost that incentive for nationally board certified teachers. I've lived through all of that. I am asking John Q. Public, not only the Davie County citizens, but the citizens of North Carolina and all retired school personnel. Let's get behind our educators, our transportation people, our cafeteria workers, our teacher assistants, our teachers, our principals, every support staff that we have. Let's push to put North Carolina back on the road to public education. It's the best deal in town. It's the best deal in town, and we show it. Number 2 out of 150, 15 school systems. Wow. Our transportation department is small, but it works with a heart. And for it to be recognized over and over again for its ability to take a dollar and stretch it and to make sure everyone's safe, that just goes to show you what North Carolina's about and what people are about. Thank you again. I can't believe summer is almost over and that we get to start back to our 6 o'clock meetings. So everyone have a safe rest of the summer. We'll see you in September. And I look forward to a great new school year. Thank you.
I want to thank each one of you for coming out this afternoon, and those that spoke publicly, thank you for your comments. I want to mention the transportation the award the Transportation Department got. I never had any, I really didn't know that that group was so small, you know, and they do a lot of work. I think what Clint said was they look after the tax dollars, but they also look after our children, and thank you for that. And summer is over. I tell you what, once you go on vacation, you get back, it goes quick. And I hope everybody had a wonderful summer, and look forward to starting school back. And I'm going to end it with saying something to Carol. I turned 60 last Monday. When will you, or when did you turn 60? That's all I got to say.
I've got you beat by 3 years, Steve, so. But
He's brave.
He's brave.
Saying that after you're talking.
He's brave, and I was really going to have some nice comments to say about what you said. And it's so hard to not be repetitive because, of course, Barbara speaks so eloquently, and Steve did too. And just to highlight a few things, and I hate that David Kuntz left because he was, you know, that is an amazing program. And I appreciate Mr. Stockert being here, Mr. Brawley, and the other business partnering with that, because it's interesting to see how it's wonderful and exciting to be moving forward, but we don't want to lose sight of what is important too. And I was sitting with some students the other night who are graduates of Catawba College, and they were having the same conversation, going out there and talking and partnering with businesses, and the businesses were saying the same thing to the college graduates. You're not having the soft skills that we need. So if we can address that early on in our high school program, then we're just ahead of the game. So I really appreciate David taking time out of his summer, and Donna McNeil as well. To Barbara's point with the budget is just a difficult job, and I'm not going to try to say too much negative, other than I remember parents coming in over the past 12, 15 years, and we were so proud of our teachers when we could say how many highly qualified teachers we had at a school, how many teachers we had with master's degrees, how many board-certified teachers. That was something that, and how many TAs. That was something we were proud of. I don't want us to take that lightly, and to not recognize that and to not honor that, to me, is just going backwards. I don't know that the boards of educations in this county, or that the administrators or the principals or teachers are going to really have the impact that you, the parents, are going to have. If that's what you want for your children, and we should demand the very best, then I would urge you to just share that with your legislatures. So I did want to add that. And for Todd Naylor, every year Todd Naylor gets recognition. I bet his name and his small little group is recognized all over this state. And I once heard, and I was not a good mom, I wanted to drive my kids to school because I thought that was the best thing to do. Putting your child on the school bus is the safest transportation that you can provide for your child. So Todd has a huge responsibility. I really honor him and thank him for all of that. I thank you for being here tonight. Looking forward to a great new year.
You never know what I'm going to say because I don't prepare anything. Maybe I should. Thank you guys for coming out. There's usually one thing that out of every meeting that sort of sticks out, and tonight for me it was Jenda was talking about the interview process, and you were talking about and people talking about wanting to be a part of the organization. I know in the business world there's not many more. There's not a better compliment in our world to have people that want to be, because they talk and they know the ins and outs. They're not naive. They know where they're going and they know where they want to be a part of. And so for those people to want to be a part of your organization says a lot. And it's a compliment to the people for creating a feeling. Sometimes you go into a business and you don't have to know their financials. You don't have to know anything, but you walk in there and you just feel it. And I'm turning into my dad. I get tired of his sayings over and over and over again. But I'm going to share one, and that he says it all the time. and that is things don't happen accidentally. And there's no accident in that. So thank you for creating the atmosphere that we have. We've got all kinds of constraints that aren't of our doing or that we can have any control over, but the teachers, the administrators, and everything take what they're given and they make the best of it. So thank you for that. That's it. All right.
Well, when you go last, you really can't say anything new. Although I did learn something tonight, the whole driver's ed thing. You know, you just assume that, I mean, I took driver's ed, you just assume that it's just part of going to school. Didn't realize it was mandated, but it didn't, they have to require you to do it, but they don't have to fund it. So you hate to increase costs, because I've got a 13-year-old who's already reminded me that he'll be taking driver's ed, which now I'm like, you're gonna have to get a job, but no. But I mean, that's something that I didn't realize. The CTE partnership, I think that's a great thing. Just myself having children who, in a day of texting, and I mean, there's just not a lot of that personal face-to-face. So I think employers do recognize that that's missed, and we all have to work together to bring that back. The academy, Jenda, even though, I don't know if she's still here or not, yeah, even though you weren't prepared, you did a great job, and I know those teachers have to appreciate it, because I think even in years past, not necessarily, I was not a teacher, but you come into an organization and a lot of times there's, people just assume you know stuff, and just being able to go over some of those basics that is on that 3-day agenda. I mean, there will be, being able to say, okay, this person works at this school, this person, I mean, they'll really appreciate that. I mean, that, some of it's very simple, but it's very necessary, so thank you for putting that together. Congratulations to Todd, although I'm not surprised. He's always gone above and beyond. And the comments about the teacher assistants, I appreciate getting your notes, and I encourage you to send this to state representatives. I think, you know, until we let them know that it's a priority for a lot of people, that it's going to take a lot of folks to get some attention. So they need to know that our TAs are critical to our kids' success. So enjoy the last couple days of school. Boy, it's coming fast and furiously. Good night.
Thank you. And I would just say that, you know, I'm not going to echo everything that everybody said, but it is that I think, and a few people, I know Paul mentioned that people are the critical piece of this, and I would completely agree that it's this community, this system exemplifies the good in people, and I'm proud to be a part of it, and I'm proud to see all these folks that are pouring their heart into their job, and we've got new teachers wanting to be here, and we've got people going above and beyond the call of duty, day in and day out. That's what they do on a regular basis, and I'm proud to live here and proud to be a teeny part of it. At this time, we're moving on to the closed session segment of our meeting, and then we'll come back in open session after that. But I'll ask for a motion to go into closed session to preserve the attorney-client privilege pursuant to the North Carolina General Statutes listed on our agenda, to discuss personnel matters protected by state law and to discuss student matters made confidential by general statutes and FERPA. Do I have that motion? I have a motion by Mr. Drexler. Do I have a second? I have a second by Ms. Horn. All in favor? Motion carries 7-0.